If you're in the market for a new device in your practice, this episode is for you. So I'm talking with my friend Michael Lustig, who's the VP of Commercial Development at Rohrer Aesthetics. Purchasing an energy-based device is such a huge decision. And then once you actually make that decision, it feels like you're buying a home. I mean, these are like mini mortgages that we're signing up for. So I wanted to bring Michael on to shed some light onto the process because you simply don't know what you don't know. And even if you already have a lighter laser device or an energy-based device in your practice, Michael shares some great pearls of wisdom about the entire process. So let me do a quick read of Michael's bio, and then we'll jump right into that episode. So Michael's been in the healthcare space for over 20 years with a primary focus in aesthetics. He's worked for larger scale organizations, including the Department of Defense, Allergan, and Medtronic. Over the past 13 years, however, he's been passionately working for startups where he's held positions including the VP of Sales and Marketing, COO, and he's currently the VP of Commercial Development at Rohrer Aesthetics. His passion is optimizing and scaling the customer experience because it allows him to collaborate with and impact all areas of the business. It's a great episode. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did, and let's go ahead and dive in. All right, Michael, welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited to talk about device procurement. I mean, like that, what a big topic. There's so many ways to go, and I feel like when I'm talking with spa owners, practice owners, it's what do I buy? When do I buy it? What do I need to ask? You don't know what you don't know. So
yeah, I mean, it's the wild, wild west out there when it comes to device procurement. It's certainly intimidating. The amount of growth within the spa market, the number of new spa owners that have taken the big plunge and opened up their own business over the last 5 to 10 years has been enormous.
Yeah.
So there's not really like a great tell-all on how to go about acquiring devices and thinking about the implications of not just at that moment in time, but 3, 5, 10 years down the road.
So let's say that I am a med spa owner and I'm saying, okay, I know that I want to bring something in. How is this going to set me apart from my competition? How do I know I'm going to get an ROI? When I'm looking out there, I'm seeing all of these prices that are like little mini mortgages. You know, how am I making this decision in the first place?
Well, this might be kind of an unpopular view, but setting you apart from your competition with a device is not necessarily what's going on in the marketplace. So if you look at each different type of treatment or modality out there, there's probably 4 or 5 devices within each treatment class. So whether it's radiofrequency microneedling, whether it's facial type treatments, whether it's CO2 lasers, whatever it is, whether it's body stuff, most of the major players in each group are the same. It's kind of like a pop song. You know, you've got the same verse over and over. You got the same chorus over and over. Once you see it, these are the same players with the same devices. They're often devices that are delivering at the same frequencies, at the same power, give or take, going to similar depths at similar temperatures. So it's not so much about differentiating, it's about making the right decision for which device you need, depending upon where you are in the life cycle of your spa.
This might go a little off track here, but this popped into my head when you said that. There is a company, and I'm not going to say any company names, but I have always been trained with laser hair removal that you could not get rid of white, blonde, gray, or red hair. And there was a company that came out that said, yes, you can, unless you were doing electrolysis. So for something like that, should that technology work, would that not be a differentiator?
No question. It's not that occasionally we don't come out with technologies that are differentiators. It happens. Occasionally we have something that groundbreaks the industry. It changes it. Those are typically de novo FDA clearances or indications. They're more difficult to get. They require more research. But for every de novo FDA indication, you probably have 50 to 100 predicate FDA clearances or indications, where companies are basically saying our device is substantially equivalent to the other 4 or 5 devices in the class. So the company is saying, we want to prove that we are substantially the same as the 4 or 5 devices that already exist in that class space. And that's a really important thing to understand, that not only is the company going out of its way to say they're the same, you can't change certain laws of physics. So if you're saying you're the same and you're coming out at the same frequencies, the same depth, the same temperature, the same power, in the hands of a well-trained person, I don't care if it's company A or company B, you should get similar results.
Okay, so that brings me back to the question of what are the things that we're looking for when we're deciding what devices we're going to be bringing into our practice?
Sure. I kind of look at it kind of equivalent to investing in a company.
Okay.
The number 1 or 2 thing you should be looking at is the team. So in this case, the team is the company, right? What is the company? Does it have great service? Does it have great training? Is it going to be there for you long term? Is it a well-established company? So let's start with like the very basics. Is this a well-established company? You shouldn't be buying stuff off Amazon, right? Okay. No offense to Amazon. So is it a well-established company? That should be pretty easy to determine at this point in time. Once you've determined, hey, this is a well-established company, you want to then next look at their service, their training, and kind of how they're going to take care of you through the lifespan of that device.
Yeah, and I have had some feedback from certain providers that they purchased a device and it was like they're loving you, they're taking such good care of you. Drop $100,000, $150,000 on a device, and then they're gone.
Sure.
Right.
Yep. Adage.
And that is such a just like feeling of abandonment, because once you make the investment in that company, you need the support, you need the handholding, you need the marketing plan to not only be able to, as you were saying, understand how to use the device properly, but also to how you market it and how you get people in. Because it makes sense that if a practice understands how to use a device correctly and they do well with it, they will likely buy another device.
100%. And companies that have one device, this is a little bit of a red flag to be careful about, right? If they have one device, even 2 devices, there's that old adage, the quickest way to get rid of your device rep is to buy the system. You'll never see them again. But you still see this with companies that have 5, 6, 7, 10 devices where they don't have a true go deep strategy. And as a result, they're hurting both themselves and their customers. Because if they do take care of those people, then you would expect that med spa or that medical practice to go ahead and buy device 2, device 3, device 4, because there is loyalty within this marketplace.
So talk to me a little bit more about that go deep strategy. What is your strategy with that when you're having a practice buy a device?
Sure. So, I'll go back to the fact that I'm very upfront about substantial equivalence. So, if I'm talking to some of our customers, I'm not, we try to be transparent on price. So let's first start about that. Transparency on price is a bit of an anomaly in the marketplace. That's a way to differentiate yourself as a company in this space. If you're transparent on price, rather than kind of taking the car model where it's like, oh, this is the sticker price, and then you come in and you've got to start negotiating.
Yeah.
Right. So the market historically has created a space like that has kind of made them feel equivalent to going in and haggling for a car. It's kind of the last thing you want to do. It's not what you want to be known for. So you want price transparency right off the bat, and then you want to show people that you have a plan for training, you have a plan for service, and you should set goals with them. If you're setting goals with them, those goals in terms of revenue, number of bookings, I always focus on bookings rather than treatments themselves, because one is proactive, the other one is reactive in terms of planning. If you're setting goals with them, then you should set a goal to buy the next device, right? And if you're doing that, you're working collaboratively as a team. If a device company comes in and their sole goal is to just get you to sign on the bottom line, and they don't put together a plan in terms of training, service, and how to get the next device in there with a revenue goal, that's a bit of a red flag.
So when you are working with a practice, or your team is working with a practice, are you saying, hey, we're going to start with the Pixel 8. We want to get your revenue, or get your number of bookings to this place. And then with your patient base, we feel that X device would be the next right path for you.
That's exactly right. We'll go in there, we'll take a look at your total number of patients in your database. We'll set a goal, and then based on that goal, we're looking to get to a certain revenue KPI. Once we hit it, it's like, okay, let's figure out what's the next device that you need to bring in to hit the next revenue goal. And of course, one of the challenges that we run into when somebody brings in that initial device is something you spoke about, which is marketing expectations. Mm-hmm. I take another different approach. I don't think that med spas, medical practices should have high expectations from device companies on marketing. Mm. If you don't take ownership over your own marketing and you're reliant upon your device company, I think that's a big mistake.
Mm. It's kind of like in aesthetic school, they don't teach you anything about business. And, there's a lot of complaining about that, but the school has certain requirements. Their ultimate job is to get you to pass state boards, right? So with a device company, you want to set goals, but like the whole marketing piece. But I will argue that you guys do help with marketing.
We do. And other device companies do as well. It's not that we don't help with marketing. I just think that we have a lot of people that come into the industry justifiably, and they're leaning and they're dependent upon, and their expectations are built on, how is my device company going to help me market these products? How are you going to help me drive the revenue? Mm-hmm. We have a whole customer platform that's built out for you to go ahead and customize with your logos, with all your potential assets and language ready to go, seamlessly built out for our customers to go ahead and market our devices. So it exists. I think that it could be at all companies improved upon. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that we've seen across the board, what works is understanding your local market. So yes. It's great to have somebody provide these assets for you that are plug and play. So let's say we go sell that Pixel 8. Pixel 8's our radio frequency microneedling product. It's a fantastic product. Again, I think our product has nuanced advantages, but it's a predicate device, just like every other radio frequency microneedling out there. And it was built under that FDA clearance. So regardless of your device, we have a plug and play marketing plan where you can go ahead, add your logo, and you can go and share on your social, via email, in a number of different ways that you just brought on a Pixel 8 device. Mm-hmm. But we know that is not enough to move the needle. It doesn't matter what med spa, what medical practice you are. The secret sauce has been being involved in your community, figuring out what those touch points are in the community, and that has always been the best way to drive business.
I always find too that when marketing, the greatest support that we can have from our reps is them showing up or supporting in some way around events or things like
Definitely.
that. And it doesn't always have to be showing up in person. There's a lot of ways that a rep can support you in an event, in helping that. But we've seen tremendous results with events since post-COVID, or whatever this time period is now that we're not experiencing shutdowns. People are wanting community and connection, and events are such a great way to have that. And when your rep actually supports you in that, whether it's, sometimes they're just helping with the food, sometimes they're on the calls with you, helping you plan it out, coaching you through these things. Sometimes they're showing up and doing demos. Whatever way they can help and support and not make you feel like you're just alone out there is just incredibly, it's like they're an extended part of your team, like your advisory board.
Totally agree with you. At events, I like to see reps closing business. I mean, they really should be part of it. So, but it comes down to that. To me, that's revenue empowerment. So the way that your company can help you, and we touched on this earlier, training empowerment, you mentioned, is everybody on the staff feeling like they want to promote this product because they're comfortable using it clinically and they're excited about the results. A device company absolutely should check the box in that area. The other one is on the revenue side, where we show up in an event, the device company should help you close business because they're really, really good at discussing their product. And if your whole staff hears that person discussing the product, they're going to feel empowered to discuss the product, and they're going to start imitating what they heard. So that's extremely valuable.
We, a client of ours, an incredible woman that owns a med spa in Indiana, she is a client of Rohrer. She loves Rohrer. She already had a device. She had her rep come to the event and said, if we hit X amount of revenue, we're going to buy a new device and pay in full.
I've heard this from a few different Rohrer customers.
And the rep showed up. The rep was there making recommendations. Sure enough, they hit their revenue goal, and she bought a new device. And like that for me is feeling supported.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's how that should work. And recently you and I talked about micro events, which I think are a great idea, and something clonable and something that you can do on a more regular basis. So the reps should be there. That's the kind of support we do have at Rohrer, both on the clinical side as well as on the sales side. I take a big leadership role on our customer experience. It's what I'm most passionate about. Everything that I do there starts with transparency. Like we want to be honest with what we're going to do for our customers up front and what they need to do with us. You want to collaborate. It's never going to be 90-10. It should be a 50-50 relationship. So when we set those goals, we set deadlines for those goals. Rohrer has a number of things to get back to the customer on, and the customer has to come to the table and hit those deadlines as well. And when we do that, I've seen success that has been, six-figure type success at events.
So let's get into some of the more logistical questions. I want to know about warranties. I want to know about maintenance. What can we expect with those types of things when we're asking questions? I know it's like you don't know what you don't know.
Sure.
So if you're going into this as someone who's doing research, finding out the company that's right for you, we obviously, we talked about the relationship with the company, but what are some of these logistical questions that we should be asking?
Well, the first thing is you should get a warranty for your device. Let's start with that. Okay. You would be kind of very surprised how many people buy a device and then are putting the warranty off for another time. So it's a higher percentage than you think. And it's because a lot of the device companies out there have kind of a blanket number of 10% on a very, very expensive device.
Right. That's the feedback that I've gotten is I'm not going to buy the warranty because it costs just as much to fix the device. Or, it'll be like $16,000 for one and $13,000 for the other.
Sure. If you're financing the device, most of the time you can go ahead and add it into the financing. And I completely get it. It's one of those feelings where you feel like you're getting, you just spent so much money. You inhale, you can't even exhale, and then somebody hits you, in the case of most device companies out there, with another $15,000 plus charge. Our devices at Rohrer are half those prices because, we're 10% as well. It's an industry standard. Again, I'll be upfront, but our devices are more in the $60,000 range. So, a warranty for us is going to come to somewhere between $3,000 and $6,000. Still, it hurts, right? You're a new business owner or an experienced business owner, whatever it is. It still hurts to feel like I'm getting hit for that extra, thousands and thousands of dollars. I do recommend you get it. It's a level of peace of mind. Even if it was a break-even situation, financing it is usually somewhere between $40 and $100 per month on top of the financing. And that peace of mind matters. So, now, do I think you should try to negotiate down price on warranties? 100%. If there's an area that you should go and negotiate on. So first of all, Rohrer is a bit of an anomaly. We have transparent pricing on our website. So you know exactly what you're paying. We're also the least expensive device maker on the market by somewhere between 30, 50, 60%. So you pay what you see on our website.
Can you talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Because when we first met, you said we took this technology and that was kind of the foundation of the company is how can we, now that the technology's been out for this amount of time, how can we make devices for a lower price that still get the same result? And in our mind, when something's more expensive, it's better.
Yes, 100%. And I'm guilty of that as well. There's no question about it. And my wife's more guilty about it. So we run into that all the time. There's definitely a threshold of pricing where people see it's too low. And then all of a sudden you're going, this can't be right. So there is that balance. But that comes back to where we started this, is you have to start with substantiating the company. Everything goes back to, if I feel that this company is a legitimate company with a good history and a good track record, then you should not fear something being less expensive. If you look at the history of inflation of medical devices, both on the insurance-based devices or on the aesthetic-based devices, which is a cash business, obviously, the inflation of insurance-based devices has been flat for quite some time. They have not been going up at the rate that you've seen in the aesthetic business. So all Rohrer really did is say, we're not going to raise our prices at the rate that we see our competitors raising their prices. So we still have great margins. If I can't share our margins here,
right,
but I'll tell you flat out, we have fantastic margins, which means our customers have margins that are, outside of this atmosphere, because they're charging in the neighborhood of 100% more for devices, right? Most of our devices are $60,000 to $80,000. Most of those devices are $150,000 to $200,000. So we're still running an absolutely fantastic bottom line business with the margins we have. So we basically said, hey, this is our value proposition. We're going to sell devices where we can run a fantastic business. Our devices are going to hold up, meaning that they're not going to break very often. We're going to provide the best service we can and the best training we can. And that will enhance the customer experience. Now we're working on taking that even to the next level. We're starting to put some automated features in place that we think speak to how our customers want things. It's just kind of the way that the industry has shifted, or kind of society has shifted. And we want to put things more at our customers' fingertips rather than have them have to go home after work and continue to work to launch a device. So that's something that's probably coming out in the next 3 to 4 months here.
Okay, exciting.
Yeah, excited about it.
Okay, so let's go back. We were talking about warranties and
Sure.
negotiations and all of that. That is something that we should be negotiating on. What else? What are the other questions that we should be asking when we're making a decision, like consumable costs?
Yep. So on warranties and service contracts, it's nomenclature, but warranties, usually that's what they call what you're buying at the time of purchase. Service contracts are usually what they're referring to when you extend the warranty and it runs out. Generally, that's the way companies will go ahead and speak about it. So first of all, negotiate down the price of your warranty, or try to get 2 years for the price of one, and try to walk out the door with at least 3 years of warranty when you buy a new device. That should be the goal, a minimum of 3 years.
Okay.
Understand the pricing if you're not under warranty. You should have that on a piece of paper and be able to look at it right next to the price of a warranty. So those two things should be lined side by side. The companies have them. You should be able to compare and make the best decision for you. Understand that the price of warranties might go up over time. So if you don't do it at that moment, you might be dealing with that in the future. But you should negotiate. You should see a side-by-side comparison of what it looks like to be under warranty, out of warranty, and what you'd be paying. On the consumable front, I think the first thing is, don't fear buying a device with a consumable. So there still seems to be a decent amount of fear in the industry when it comes to buying devices with consumables. And it's really, really simple. If you're using the device, okay, and it's the right device for your practice, and it has a great treatable demographic, it can treat a huge population of people, and the profit margins, the gross profit margins on that consumable are 85% or more, okay, then you're only buying consumables if you're earning 85% or more, right? If you're not using the device, whether it has a consumable or does not have a consumable, that's a problem. The real question is, are you going to hit an 85% gross profit margin or more? And then are you going to use the device? If you don't feel like you have the patience, you shouldn't have bought the device in the first place.
Yeah, fair point. And that goes into, I am so big on pricing your services based off of cost of treatment and really understanding that, looking at your payroll. Not a lot of times when it comes to pricing, there's a lot of stories and things that we have in our mind around money and pricing. And people will look at what someone down the street is charging, or they'll look at, obviously there is like a suggested price, but you have to look at the entire experience. Certain companies, you come in and it's very high end, very luxury. You're getting all these, this beautiful environment, and others, it's just like, let's pull the white paper down. Like there's a cost that's associated with doing that. And so it's not, you can't just look at, well, this person down the street is charging this amount, and so I'm going to charge that amount, because you have no idea their rent, their consumables, their payroll, all of those things. So knowing your own, I think, is tremendously important. And like you said, like if you know your margins, include that consumable cost in there, get your margins to the right place, and you'll be winning every time.
Yeah, that's right. And the two types of customers and the two types of experiences, there's customers for both of those experiences, right?
Oh yeah.
They're out there, right? They're almost ubiquitous at this point. So, I look at it, and you said it's kind of, you have to know who you are, right? Mm-hmm. Know what your business is, and then understand what your pricing is based on, who the people that are coming in and spending money with you. And you shouldn't be afraid, to go ahead and test the market a little bit and see what people are willing to pay for that experience that you're providing.
Yeah, super important. Okay, so pricing, warranties, how long does a device typically last? Like, what should we be expecting?
Well, if you take care of a device and do preventative maintenance on the device, and that you should challenge to make sure that's included in your warranty, some level of preventative maintenance. An annual preventative maintenance can help a device last a lot longer. The industry will tell you 5 years. It's not really that the device will only last 5 years. It should last far longer than that. It's really the attention on the device, right? So one of the things that I always talk to people about, and this is counterintuitive to somebody who works at a device company, is, are you getting the most out of the devices you have?
Yes.
So you might have a device that is not necessarily collecting dust, but it's just not being leveraged to its full potential. And I'm not sitting here saying, don't buy one of our devices. I'm saying, prove to yourself that you can go ahead and leverage and get the most out of the existing device. So, we both know you could go relaunch a device if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
In a practice, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't do it right the first time. Maybe your clientele has changed. Maybe your marketing capabilities have changed. Maybe your partnerships to do those marketing capabilities have changed. Why not go back, see if you can relaunch an existing device in your practice? And so your question is, how long does a device last? If you take care of it, a device should last 10 years easy, okay? I don't see people continuing to market devices kind of past that period of time. I think, we're in an industry that wants the next best thing, the next best thing. We have a finite amount of time and bandwidth to go ahead and market devices. When we're marketing device A, it's really at the cost of device B. However, the real trick is, how do you turn that device A person into a device B person? How do you start to package all those things together? And you know this better than anybody, that the key is, turning your database or your clients into people that come in for at least, 4 to 5 different services really changes the game in terms of your revenue.
Absolutely. What do you think is a great type of device to start with? I know we obviously have to know our specific patient base, but one that is really just a winner that can really start to build your confidence in your ability to market that device.
Well, of course, there's the facial device market. It's an easy, device to go out there. It's super safe. It feels great. You don't have to worry about the light.
What are you including in there? Like IPL? What?
No, I'm talking more about kind of the hydrofacial world.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
the real kind of like gateway type of device into your practice. And it's not something that we currently have. But once you kind of get past that entry level, low what I would consider a volume product with not necessarily the greatest margins from time to time, because it's become a little bit of a race to the bottom in some marketplaces. I would look
That
at
was
radio.
a good way to put it.
What's that?
That was a good way to put it.
Okay. Well, I thought it was a nice way to say
Yes.
it. Yes. I would look at radio frequency microneedling.
Okay.
Well, first of all, the treatable demographic is huge. That's a big deal. How many people that could possibly walk, knock on your door, open your door that you can actually treat is an enormous question to ask. So the next thing is it's very easy to do. It has great margins and you get great results. So, that's the class. Obviously, we have the Pixel 8. It's been a fantastic mover for us. Like, we have great results with it. They also, they last so long.
And you can do Pixel 8 more, or radio frequency microneedling. You can do that on more than just the face.
100%. And that's another element where we talked about getting the most out of your device, right? You see people come in and they end up getting kind of comfortable doing the Pixel 8 on the face and the neck. And, we have to make sure that we empower them, that they feel comfortable in not only doing the treatments on the body, but getting the best possible results, but that they have a talk track to go ahead and promote it. So, are you leveraging your device to its full potential, right? Are you using it primarily on the face and neck because of habit? What's the reason that you haven't gone and done just as many treatments on the body? But we do. You can use that on the whole body. It's got a huge treatable demographic, the Pixel 8. In our case...
And when you say treatable demographic, we're talking about Fitzpatrick skin types.
100%.
Yeah.
Ours specifically covers all skin types. We have a unique feature. Again, even I'll say, look, again, predicate clearance. We have one unique feature that our device is able to go in hot, turn the heat off before we retract the needles. And as a result, it reduces the likelihood of post-inflammatory exposure. So as a result, we can treat all skin types. And that's...
really, the only thing you're worried about is keloid scarring, right?
We are, yeah, of course. But, that's across the board.
Right. But like when we're looking at contraindications for patient selection, like when we're dealing with lighter lasers, there's obviously a lot more that's included in, patient selection.
Yeah, 100%. So, I think that's a great, obviously you have to look at results, right? Can you reduce results and get great results? You have to look at the margins on the device. You have to look at that treatable demographic, the Fitzpatrick scale, and you have to make sure that it's a device that you feel that your practice is going to be excited to promote, and they're going to be excited to use, right?
Yeah.
So those are some of the boxes you want to check. But I love that class of devices. Of course, I love our device, but in general, I love that class of devices.
Is there anything else around device procurement that I'm not asking that you find is relevant or necessary you want to leave someone with, of kind of in their thought process as they're going down this path?
Sure. I think one of the biggest things we talked about at the very beginning, that 3-year, 5-year, 10-year look.
Okay.
So, go back, make sure that a company is a legitimate company in the space. To be honest, there's probably only 7 or 8 companies that have a huge footprint in this marketplace when it comes to devices. So you want to put together a long-term relationship. So think about that going in. You also look at the price you're going to be paying over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. So
and this ties into, I know you and I had talked about exit strategy before we started filming. Like when you're looking at the 3 to 5, 10-year plan of what you're doing with your company, who you're partnering with, that should also be part of the decision-making process, no?
Yeah, I think, you want to position yourself to be a level A exit. A level A exit is, an A player is somebody that when investors come around, they look at this person, this group, this med spa, this practice, and they feel they've positioned themselves in the best possible way. So they're operationally efficient, their revenue, their margins look great, their debt service is low. So regardless of whether you're being evaluated on pure revenue multiple or an EBITDA multiple, it doesn't really matter. You have to make sure that your operational efficiency looks really, really strong. So if you look at a 10-year period and you're bringing in 10 devices over that period, if you're spending $120,000, $150,000 per device versus $60,000, $70,000 for the same exact device, well, your debt service is more than double because, of course, you're paying interest. You're also paying, if you're paying industry standard, double on warranties the entire way. And if you fast forward just 10 years into your business, you'll have around $1.3 million of overall debt that you've paid versus around $650,000. It's a substantial amount of money, right?
Right.
So that's the upfront money you're giving up for, again, devices that have gone out of their way to say they're substantially equivalent. But at the end of that exit, instead of getting a 10x plus multiple because you're an A exit company, you're looking at somewhere between a 1 to 5x multiple. And that's a serious difference when it's time to sell your business.
Talk to me a little bit more about that, because I know when I talk with physicians or nurses or even estheticians, we are technicians. We like to be doing the treatment. We love to learn about skin. We love to learn about how are we solving the problem with this. They're not always business focused.
Sure.
Yet when they become entrepreneurs, when they open their own practice, like understanding what it can mean to sell your business for a multiple of 5 versus a multiple of 10 can be millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
And that gets into the importance of systems. You were talking about operational efficiency, having systems in your business, having processes, having recurring revenue. All of these things are vitally important when you are making a decision, when you're operating your business and the long-term strategy of your business.
That's just it. I mean, you want to put together efficiencies that allow you to scale. So if you can reduce your debt service overall, then you're going to be able to sell for a higher multiple. If you're able to show that your business can scale from one business to 2 locations, that multiple is going to jump up even more. So you want to put in these efficiencies, whether it's automations on how you do marketing, or you've gone out of your way to reduce your debt along the way. All of those things are going to take you from a 3 to 5 multiple to anything from a 10 to 15 multiple. It's completely intimidating at first. The first step is like anything else in the world. Just start.
First step is the hardest.
First step is the hardest. So start talking to people around you that you feel can help you with these types of things. I remember when I started getting involved in this, I have a father who's, he's got a son the same age as my son. He is an economics PhD from MIT, which I think...
yeah, my husband's MIT,
right.
So we got...
and we were just sitting there at basketball one day, and I said, hey, can you help coach me through a few things? He does spreadsheets at a whole new level.
Yeah.
And he also does a lot of mapping out when it comes to a bunch of unknowns in modeling for revenue tables. So, we started talking. The next thing I know, I'm about 15, 20 minutes in, and I feel about 100% better. And I think that's really it. That's that first step.
Yes. And it certainly helps to have someone good with numbers to to map it out for you, especially if you're a visual person, to really, it's like you said, that unknown is what gives us the fear and gives us...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's someone in your life that has that information that could be a support to you. So start there, but the key component here is don't wait, right? Because you're already 3 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in. It still matters, absolutely matters if you started now. You've probably paid off a few devices at this point if you're an experienced practice owner or med spa owner. But you want to start setting yourself up for that exit now and start putting together those optics. So when a company does come in, when an investor does come in, when a private equity company comes in, that you're positioned for that highest possible multiple.
I love that. Okay, so tell our listeners where they can learn more about Rohrer, where they can, if they're interested in learning more about the devices, about your company. We'll include all the links below the show, but just...
Fantastic, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, number one, definitely go to rohraesthetics.com. Like we mentioned earlier, you're going to see all of our pricing transparently right on the website. It's one of the elements that makes us unique. So I think if you start there, and of course we'll put the links below, you can contact myself and we'll make sure that that's out there so you can get in touch with me. But I think that again, the number one takeaway I wanted people to have from our discussion is, yes, all those other elements matter when it comes to device procurement. Training matters, service matters, marketing collaboration matter. But when you look at the long-term strategy of your practice or spa, unequivocally, the number one thing is definitely price.
Very good. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been such a pleasure to have Michael, to have you here.
So much.
And we will catch you on the next episode.